Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. My name is Brother Akhtar, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you and joining us on the Amaana Hajj in this upcoming year. Alhamdulillah, Amaana has been doing Hajj for many years, alhamdulillah, taken thousands of people to Hajj. And in these next few minutes, I wanted to share some of the tips that you could benefit from in going to Hajj, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, I've been blessed to go to Hajj now for the last 8 or 9 years with Amaana Tours, and me and my team, alhamdulillah, are ready to help you throughout this Hajj trip. So let's get over to some important tips on how you can make the best of this journey and really benefit. And tip number 1 is all about sincerity, all about having a sincere heart. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, every action is judged by its intention. And sometimes we overlook the importance of really setting our heart straight with regards to intention. And I'd ask you and myself to spend a bit of time in solitude, really reflecting upon why we're going to Hajj and having that sincere intention in our heart, that resolve that we're going to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're going to have our sins wiped. We're going to please Him and to complete one of the most amazing acts of worship that you can do. And with this sincerity, this genuine nature in our hearts, then inshallah we will receive the best from Hajj, both on this trip and in the hereafter. Sadly, we see for many of us, we haven't really thought about the intention of Hajj and what it should be. Some of us presume it just to be a given, and that ends up spoiling our trip. We don't really achieve the benefit that we should. So spend a few minutes fixing your intention and doing it sincerely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My advice on my second point is a little bit of a practical one. We're going to do a lot of walking, inshallah, on this trip. Me and you, we're going to walk many miles. You're going to have that app on your phone, which is going to tell you how many steps you've taken, and I'm sure me and you are going to break world records for ourselves in the amount of walking that we're going to be doing. Sometimes we're going to walk from our tents in Mina to the Jamarat, and it will be maybe 45 minutes to an hour each way. And it's one of the most enjoyable parts of the trip, because there we'll get to see the whole world and everybody who's gathered there. Now, the Jamarat is such a safe place. It's not how it used to be a decade or so ago when I remember first going Hajj. It was a very difficult experience. It's a very calm and enjoyable part of the trip. But walking for 2 or 3 days constantly for an hour or an hour and a half in total is quite new to some of us. So my advice to you is spend a little bit of time every day walking for 10 or 15 minutes. And if you can, every day between now and the time that we depart, just increase on that time by, say, 5 minutes a week or 5 minutes a day, and just expand your breadth of walking experience. It will train your body to get used to walking. And that means that you also need to have a good pair of shoes, something that you're broken into. You don't want to take a pair of shoes with you for traveling and for walking, and it's the first time. So practice walking, you'll enjoy it, give you some fresh air, give you some time to reflect, and it will prepare you for our Hajj journey, inshallah. Now, the third piece of advice that I wanted to share with you is about dua. And this is the culmination of Hajj. The Prophet ﷺ said, the peak of Hajj is Yawm al-Arafah. And it is the time, that day, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the only day in the year where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the daytime comes to the lowest heaven and sees and boasts to His angel, look at my slaves that have come and gathered on this plain to seek my forgiveness. And He is so proud of us on that day where the Prophet ﷺ, even though he would never shorten and combine his prayers unless there was an extreme need, he would combine and shorten his prayers of Dhuhr and Asr at the time of Dhuhr, so he could clear several hours between Dhuhr and Maghrib, so he could be dedicated in supplication, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, supplication is an act of worship, and for many of us, sadly, we start practicing dua when we get to Hajj. But I'd like you, maybe even at the time that you're practicing walking, is to spend 10 or 15 minutes every day practicing your dua, getting it clear in your mind, starting off with sending salatu wa salam upon the Prophet ﷺ, familiarizing yourself with the names of Allah to ask Him, and then practice what du'as you want to make. Maybe you've got personal issues, maybe you've got family that you want to make du'a for, maybe there's something in your life that you're aspiring towards, maybe there's some challenge and some difficulty, some health issues, some other family members that you wish to make du'a for. Whatever they were, Make a list. Spend 10 or 15 minutes every day practicing that list, because it's not easy to make dua for half an hour or 45 minutes or for an hour or for 2 hours or for 3 hours. It needs practice. It needs your familiarity, so that when you come to the day of Arafah, you've practiced your dua. It's as if you hit the ground running and you're able to get the maximum out of that day, inshallah. So please spend time practicing your dua and perfecting that acts of worship. Now, there's some practical advice I'd like to give you about the trip itself. Some things that, regardless of wherever you travel, some good tips that we've learned. So the first thing that I'd like you to do is, before we travel, do make a copy of your passport. And if you're taking medicine with you, have a list of those medicines. In case your passport gets lost for whatever reason, or your medicines get misplaced, then there's pharmacies available, they can be recovered. And same with your passports, there's methods that can be done. But it's always good to keep a copy or two with you in a different luggage piece, so that you have that available should you need that. A few other practical tips of our travel. Do think about what you take with you. You don't need to take expensive pieces of luggage, because we're going to be doing a lot of traveling in and out, hotel to hotel. It's going to go in and out. So there may be a little bit of damage that happens to people's luggage, or it's not treated very well. So maybe you want to save those expensive pieces for another travel day. So come with luggage that is practical and is easy for you to use. Maybe it's got easy wheels that you can pull along, etc., rather than carrying bulky bags. And also, don't bring expensive items with you. Expensive jewelry, especially you brothers, don't bring your expensive jewelry. And anything else like that, keep that behind, because we will be doing a lot of traveling in between and moving from one junction to another. We don't want to risk you losing something that's really valuable to yourself, inshallah. So do think about that. The fourth thing, or one of the important tips that I'd like to give, especially when we're traveling to a hot Middle Eastern country like Saudi Arabia, and in the time that we'll be traveling, it will be summertime, and it's a different temperature to what we're used to here in the UK. So we'll find the degrees could be up to 40, 45 degrees sometimes. It's a different type of heat. It's not as unpleasant, as muggy as it can be in the UK, but nevertheless it is hot, and that can catch out a few people. So be careful what time you go out during the day. You know, sometimes you want to go shopping, or you want to go out, or you want to explore the local area. Don't do that at the peak hours of when the sun is up. Plan your day. So maybe it's best that you rest between, for example, Dhuhr and Asr, and before Dhuhr, when it's peak times in terms of its heat, so that you don't suffer that challenge. Also, final tip on our practical trip itself is have a think about our itinerary. Familiarize yourself. When we are landing, where are we going? We're going to be going to Medina. How long are we staying in Medina? What do we do when we leave Medina? When are we going to do Umrah? When are we going to go to Mina? When are we going to travel to Muzdalifah, etc., so on? If you have these generally in your mind, this will help you plan your days and your trip. And also what will happen is that you'll hear from me so often throughout this trip, reminding you about junctions in our journey. Remember, we do things together. We're a team, we're a family. We'll travel together. What you eat, I eat. Where you stay, I will stay. We will be together the whole time. And I'll be there reminding you and giving you all of these tips again. But it's good if you familiarize yourselves with the itinerary that we have coming up over the next few weeks when we're traveling for Hajj, inshallah. Some other points that I'd like to share with you. Do think about now, in these next few weeks before we travel, about how to complete Hajj. Do some reading. Pick up the verses of the Quran that Allah refers to as to the obligation of Hajj. Read some books. There's a brilliant book that I recommend everybody to read, How to Make the Best Out of Hajj by Ismail Davids. Really good book, mashallah. It covers the Islamic angles and practical angles to try and prepare you for your trip, and to try and take as much information and knowledge about the performance of Hajj in both its spiritual aspect as well as its rules and regulations, so then when it comes to Hajj, you're not confused. And alhamdulillah, we have great scholars traveling with us, that at any time you have any questions with regards to Hajj, you can they'll be staying with us the whole time, you can ask them any questions you have, inshallah. One of the challenges that we have before we go Hajj is to resolve outstanding issues. And there's 3 parts to this. The first part that I'd like to encourage you is to resolve family disputes. Please go back to your families and join the hearts. Don't let you go to Hajj with hearts that have split from your families. Reconcile. Doesn't matter who was right and who was wrong, just apologize and go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a clean heart that you have reconciled all of those challenges you had with family members and with friends. Somebody's done something wrong to you, forgive them. Somebody who's done something wrong to you, overlook, go and meet them. Go and settle those disputes. Resolve those issues. Give back money that you owe. Clear your debts. Make sure you go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a clean bill of health. And to try and make sure that you have a will in place. The Prophet ﷺ said, no 2 days should pass where a person does not have a will. So have a will ready, because regardless of whether we're going Hajj or not, the Prophet ﷺ made this an incumbent part of our life. A few important points about the trip itself. You're going to hear this word of sabr, of patience, patience, patience. It doesn't matter how much you pay for Hajj, whether you pay £1,000 or £10,000, whether you go with VIP or you go as a simple person traveling. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test everybody on Hajj. He will test you. You will be traveling in a hotter climate. It may be challenging for you physically. You may have to stay in hotels and rooms with people you're not familiar with. All of this is different. It's a challenge. And so you need to be patient. You need to have that patience and practice that patience, because that will be one of the determining factors as to whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts your Hajj or not. So patience is really important, and that time that you lose it, take a breath, calm down, have a sip of water, make wudu, take a seat, relax, overlook those small things. Final 2 points I wish to share with you. First of all, this trip is a trip of reflection. So during this trip, find time to sit, maybe looking at the Kaaba, maybe sitting in the Prophet's mosque, and reflect upon your life. See how you can have a better life, how you can become a better person, how you can enjoy a better relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how you can change your life forever and make this the transition in your life, the time, the crossroad where you really made a permanent change in your life. And this is one of the signs of whether Hajj has been accepted. So much so that you want to look after Hajj how much of a transformation you have made in your life. So reflect during this journey wherever you get a chance. And the final piece of advice for myself and for you, and inshallah we'll discuss this throughout our Hajj journey, is to learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these next few weeks. Learn how majestic He is, how great He is, how forgiving He is, how overlooking He is, how He pardons sins, how He will wipe away the errors that we have done. Think about all of those things. Learn about how forgiving and how merciful and how loving and how severe in punishment, and how He wants His worshippers to ask for His forgiveness. Grow closer to Allah by knowing Him. It will transform your Hajj in a miraculous way. These were just a few tips. My name is Brother Akhtar. Jazakumullah khair. I'm looking forward to traveling with you on this upcoming Hajj trip. And we hope, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts it from me and from you. And we return back as if we have been newly born, free of sin. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.